Chanukah. And next week, Mr. Hashem will learn the Maamar, we'll start learning the Maamar and getting ready for your Shvat. So let's bring up the text where we're holding. Okay, we're holding the end of the Maamar. It's a hard section now. We'll go through it as best as we can. Again, the Rebbe even spoke Tevis about Chanukah and Zos Chanukah and the lessons from Chanukah. So obviously, we're still in the week of Chanukah, so we're learning about Chanukah. The Rebbe continues the Maamar again that we're learning about the Yisod based on the foundation of the Tzemach Tzedek's Maamar of the idea of Aharon HaKohen is the Kohen is Avarab is the great love, and he brings down the great love into this world. That the idea of the love is not that you lose yourself, but you find focus. The love is about what you're loving. The love is so great that it's not about you. It's about how to exercise the relationship and how to actualize the relationship to do what's wanted because of what you love. If you love Hashem so much, it's all about bringing it down to this world. And that was the idea of bringing down the 10 utterances into the 10 dibros, the 10 commandments into the 10 utterances. The idea of the Menorah is to bring the light. The purpose of it all is to change things down in this world. Okay, so the Rebbe continues, based on what we just explained, the idea of bringing down the Torah Lamata and the light down into this world. So we'll understand that there's one idea, the same idea of the Torah, bringing the Torah down to this world is a similar idea with the Menorah. Just like in the Menorah, the Menorah had on its structure, there were the 22 cups, Yud Aleph Kaftorim, the 11 buttons, and the Tes Prachim, the 9 flowers. The Torah. So this represented 3 ideas of Torah. That the 22 letters of the Aleph Beis of the alphabet are corresponding to the 22 not cups. The translation of Geviyah is like from Yosef Atzadik, the goblets. A goblet, we're going to learn, is bigger than a cup, a kos. So these are like the 22 goblets. Why? Because a goblet receives a receptacle. The letters are receiving your ideas. You use letters to articulate ideas. If you form and if you say something, write something, communicate something using letters, the letters are the vessels to bring out your ideas, to communicate your ideas. So like a goblet is a receptacle to what you're pouring inside it. Because you can pour anything in a goblet. So too, you can use your words to say hurtful things, good things, positive things, funny things, sad things, etc. Productive things, wasteful things. But with ideas like this. We find the idea of the goblet, like in last week's parsha by Yosef, that he had a special silver goblet. My special silver goblet. So that's by Yosef, he's the tzaddik elyon, we're going to learn. He's the great tzaddik. So therefore, Yosef's receptacle is not just anything, but it's a goblet. The goblet's a large cup. David is humility. This is again the connection between this week's parsha by Yigash Elav Yehuda. Yehuda and Yosef meet. Yosef a tzaddik. David is a descendant of Yehuda. These are the two great kings, right? David and Yosef. David has kos yeshuas. He says in the Tehillim, he doesn't pick up a geviyah, a goblet. He picks up a kos, a cup. It's known what is the difference between a cup and a goblet? Shakais who cut it, who gadol. The goblet's larger than the cup, and the Rebbe adds, not just that's a large receptacle and you drink out of the goblet, but seemingly who gadol boy moizgin as a kaisis. It's not a pitcher. You can call it a pitcher is a kad, but it's a kind of goblet that's also used to pour. It has a large amount, so therefore can pour into the smaller cups, similar to what we do a little bit on Shabbos, right? That's Mitzudas David, which is the commentary on the Navi, describes the difference between a goblet and a kos. From the goblet, from the geviyah, you pour into the cups. What was the idea of the goblet of Joseph? Of Yosef, we're looking at Isis at Torah. It's the letters of Torah, like we said before. Shuli gadol, which is a great vessel. Like the goblet's a large receptacle. Like you do, as it's known. In general, the Torah are called large letters because they have within it large ideas that you're using to communicate through the letters of the Torah. Avla that's Seres Maamar, but the letters and the 10 utterances, like we learned before, there's the 10 commandments and 10 utterances. Both of them are words, but there's the words of Torah, which are the large words, because it's deep ideas, not just large in size, but also large in depth. Meaning to say, it represents deeper of the kavanah, of the intention of Hashem. In the Torah is that God's is not just God's wisdom, is more the kavanah, the intention of everything, and the ratzin and the desire of Hashem. The 10 utterances are, so to say, the setup. This is like the setting that where is the Torah going to be? Where are the Jewish people going to do Torah? The Abra B'nai Yisrael is going to be in this world. So the words of the Asar Maamar, so the 10 utterances are considered small letters compared to the large letters of the Torah. Again, based on what is it communicating? The ideas of creating world is a small idea, but the idea of Torah is a larger idea. The idea is to bring this large idea of the Torah into the world, into the Asar Maamar, into the 10 utterances. The 10 utterances, the letters of the 10 utterances are small ideas, are small letters. They're called small letters. This is the story of creation of the heavens when they were created. The Amr Rizal, and as it says that the letter in Behi Baram, the Hey is small. Why? Because Behi Baram, the worlds were created with with the Hey, which is like a silent letter. Of all the letters, the Hey is the silent letter. The Hey who's the Ira, and the Hey is small in the water, Behi Baram. When he could, in the word Behi Baram that he created, he do as it's not. The HaNeiros is to symbolize Al Shabbat, Ha'or Halikim, and not just this small idea, but there's also the world itself is not godly. We don't see the godliness in the world. That the godliness is the light that is in the words are very hidden. It's Elokim, Bereshis Bar Elokim, and Elokim. Torah is the Torah Savaya of Yud Kevavke, which is beyond creation. The world is created. Bereshis Bar Elokim. Elokim is the name of concealment. So in these letters it's concealing very much the idea of godliness and the creator of creation. Therefore, it's called small letters. The Hey Zero, you do it. The idea is to symbolize that the letters of the 10 utterances are very much concealing. That's why in the world you don't see godliness. You have to find godliness in the world, and that's the kavanah. That's intention to introduce and to show and to reveal godliness in the world through the Torah. But the letters of the Torah, they're called the large letters. Because with the large letters you have the ability. The hobby ha'or. The hobby or hiskalus atzmus kamamata, that through the Torah, what does it mean big? Again, not just big in ideas, but also big in power. That through the Torah we could permeate into the world to show godliness even into the small space of creation. And that's why the letters of Torah are called goblets to symbolize the large kais gadol, it's a big cup. From this large cup, we pour into the small cup, which is the idea that from in the large cup of Torah, we're pouring into the words of the Asar Maamar. We're supposed to bring the Vamarta to bring the Asar Dibros into the 10 Maamaros, into 10 utterances. So what's this connection to the Menorah that we're talking about here? Because the 22 letters of the Torah correspond to the 22 goblets that are on the Menorah. The Atzmuscha, and how do we have Simcha within creation? Bach, which is also Chav Beis, which is the 22 letters of the Aleph Beis, is the 22 letters of the Aleph Beis of the Geviyos of the goblets that are on the Menorah, representing the 22 large letters of the Torah that have to go and permeate into the smaller cups, into the 10 utterances of creation. Okay, so this is all from the Maamar of the Tzemach Tzedek that the Rebbe is quoting. Now the Rebbe continues to explain. He's not going. This part of the Maamar is more understood, so the Rebbe is going to explain it less. So that is the 22 goblets. What is the 11 kaftorim, which are the buttons kind of that connect all the different parts of the menorah? Seemingly, you have to remember the menorah was made out of a single piece of silver. So it wasn't like they welded together by the buttons, but the buttons is as if that's the place of support where the pieces break off, and all those different connections, seemingly connections, that was a single piece of gold, there was a kaftor, which was the buttons. Connecting the two candles of the menorah, there was a kaftor, there was a button, although it's not welded, but it still connects the idea. It's an idea connection. That there's the let's say if you have the bottom base of the menorah and you have the first light, which is all the way to the right, and the second light that's all the way to the left, right? So the most two extreme parts of the menorah, they're connected at the bottom at a base. By the base of those two extremes, there's a kaftar. And this kaftar symbolizes not that they were welded together, but that there's a connection between what's right and what's left. Right is the idea of chesed, and left is gvura, which is severity. So mechaber beis hakonim shemiminu mismal. The kaftar connects in the idea of the right and the left, because in this world is a world of hiskadlus. You have to have the world of tikkun is the world of fixing. Everything has to go together. There has to be a coexistence between the midas, between the attributes. You can't be only extreme in one way. And where does it connect the extreme parts of the menorah? On the base, in the middle line. It's brought down in the book of Yitzira, which is one of the books of Kabbalah, which is written by Avraham Avinu. Chamesh etzbois keneged chamesh etzbois ubris yachid mikaben b'emtza. That we have the 5 fingers and the 5 fingers, which are the 5 fingers, which we have again. We have 11 buttons that connect on the menorah. So 11 is 2 times 5, which is 10 plus 1. So what are the 2 times 5 plus 10, 1? So the 2 5s are the 2 hands, the right hand and the left hand. So that's the idea of the 10 fingers, the 5 fingers on the right hand, 5 fingers on the left hand. And in between you have, what is the connection of the mole is the bris, is the section of male sexual organ, which connects the 2 hands together. So it's brought down in Kabbalah and Sefer Yetzirah, chamesh etzbois connect chamesh etzbois, the 5 fingers both corresponding of bris, the bris of the man is yachid, is one, the kaven b'emtza, that's in between. Shehu b'chinas kav, which is the end of the torso, right? Shehu b'chinas kav emtzai, that's the middle, so to say, the middle of the person. That that's where the person has to connect in the bris between your extremes of chesed and gvura. Spheres, which are the 10 attributes which make up the character of the person. In general, it's not just the power to connect; its ability to connect is because it's rooted in the essence, and in the essence, it's all one. And where the person comes into the midos is a break-off, so to say, of the essence. And because the bris is connected to the essence, therefore has the ability to connect the 5 fingers from the right and the left. The middle, Tiferes, the torso goes all the way up to the top, not just the top of Chacham, but all the way to Kesser, to the Dainuk, to the pleasure. That's why it says the bris is all the way connected to the Kesser. It's based on the same idea. This ability to give birth, and the person is exercised through the bris. That's the 11 buttons. That represents the buttons, represent the ability to connect and coexistence between the extremes of the person, their kindness side, their chesed side, with their gevura, with their severity side. And they are rooted in essence, and therefore they have an ability to be connected, which is represented that the menorah is really essentially a single piece of gold. In the desire, so to say, of the concept, which is the kesser, which is higher even than the makeup of chachma, of the intellect of the person, which connects all the way to the kavam tzai, to the middle ground. So that's basically the idea of it. Which we have over here is that Teferes, which is the torso, and so it goes Teferes, it goes Yisoid, Teferes, Das, Kesser. So that's the way it goes all the way up to from the. That's why the pleasure is expressed through the bris. And that's why the koyach ha'elad, the ability to give birth, is through the bris, because that's the bris is the yisod of the person. It all comes down to there, and therefore it has the ability to bring the person together. So that's why it's such an important part of the person. So that's the 11 kaftarim, 11 buttons. What are the 10 parachim? What are the 9 flowers? This is what it says. Yes, it's about Israel. The idea of the growing out of the flower of Israel. The idea of the flower is already not just the ability to function, which, so to say, the parts of the menorah so far, we have the 22 letters, and then we have the kaftarim, which is connecting everything. Where's the parach? What grows out of all this? That's the 9 flowers. So that's about the revelation. The malchus, which is the power to communicate, it has the power of royalty, but that's like an empty ability. But it has to be fed with the other 9 midos. It's a more Kabbalistic Hasidic Rebbe will explain this very basically. But the idea is that that malchus is receptacle. It's everything and nothing. It has nothing of its own. but it receives everything from the other 9 midas. But it's the ability to turn the character of the person from just being an idea to something of communication, all the way to the idea of royalty. Is it's all rooted in Malchus. Malchus is sort of say it's its own entity. It takes the character of the person and transforms it from being an idea to being a thought to being a speech. From the world of Rachel to from the world of Leah to the world of Rachel. Malchus nesel b'soid shorish rak b'nekuda echad. V'tzarech l'hamshich b'tasfirs. It has a yisoid. It has a foundation, but it has to be filled with the other 9 attributes, and that's the 9 flowers. How do you have the ability to bring things down? Which you said the whole idea of Aharon HaKohen is to bring it down into the world, is the idea of Malchus, communication. But where does Malchus get it from? His Malchus has the power to communicate, but it has to communicate something. What is it communicating from the other 9 attributes? It gets the 10 lights from the 10 attributes and it communicates them. Therefore, it's able to bring it from an idea into space and time. The Rebbe finishes off with Behaaloscha, it's self-understood. Okay, now let's see how the Rebbe explains this. The Rebbe says like this: V'hinei yitches, v'hinei mash. The Rebbe doesn't only explain parts of this last part of the Maamar that we learned. V'hinei. This is what it says in the Bechatzi Eagle in the parentheses. This idea that through the bris you have the ability to give birth to something almost exactly as yourself is what it says before. We said before in chapters 10, that in order to bring something down, the power to bring something down, like we said, explained before, is not something. The higher something is, the stronger it has an ability to bring it lower. Like the higher its fruit, therefore it can come lower. What does it mean to give birth to sort of say an idea of godliness, almost exact? Mamish means exact. Based on what it says in Tanya, that the neshama is chelik lekami mal mamish, the Jewish soul of a yid, the godly soul of a Jew is a part of Hashem, chelik lekami mal, part of a God from God above. And the Alter Rebbe adds in Tanya mamish. It's not just a concept; it's actually a part of God. Shetevus mamish utaisus adam rizaken. The Alter Rebbe added this to the verse because the lashon hakosef is chelik lekami mal. The verse in Job only says that a neshama is a portion of God, and the Rebbe says it's mamish. It's actually a portion of God. It's not a concept. So we're not talking in a metaphor. And the Frierdiker Rebbe explains in one of his letters. Mamish means not just that it's actually, but it's able to come, that the soul comes into the most physicality of the person. Like something that's tangible. And it's a total opposite from above, that the nefesh is a chelik mimal. It starts from the highest point. It's able, because it comes from so high, it's able to come into the most physical of the person, in the mamish and the tangible. That mamish is the gashmis of the gashmis, and mimal is the ruchnis of the ruchnis. When we put it together, Purish, what does it mean about the makeup of the person? Know where your source is. The source of your soul is a portion of God from above, from the highest point. And he continues, hold on. It's not just a concept, like I said. They're just like there's certain godly things. That a person's soul is actually the highest of the mamal, from the highest point, and it comes down to mamish actually into the person. So there's two explanations. One is that's actually godly, and one is that that the godliness comes into mamashis, into physicality. The Rebbe says they're connected. The klus mamish is that we're saying that the soul is actually godliness. Nimshach. So this idea that the soul is an actual piece of God, and it comes into mamish, it comes into the physicality of the person. This is what it means, that a person has the ability to give birth to something almost as if yourself. What's the whole point of the middle ground that goes to the root of the person, to the pleasure? It's not just to give birth to spiritual children, which means like the love and fear you have of Hashem. And being like mamish begashim stuff, we go out to the world physically and go and change the world physically, not just to have inward experiences of love and fear for God. Okay, we finished now the part of the Farbrengen, the main part of the Farbrengen that dealt with the Rebbe's explaining the Maamar, so to say, of Chanukah, of the Tzemach Tzedek. Now the Rebbe's going to give us a story. The Rebbe ends up a little more lighter, Baruch Hashem. Makes it easier for us to finish the Farbrengen a little bit. It says Isa B'Sfarim. It's brought down in the Sfarim of Hasidic Poland, the Polish Hasidim. It means we know there was great different dynasties in Poland, in Hungary, in Ukraine, in Russia. Chabad is a Russian Hasidus. The Rebbe says it's brought down in the Polish Hasidus. That the Rebbe says I have not found this yet. Also sourced in Chabad philosophy, but the Rebbe says it's strongly there. The Rebbe is saying he didn't find it. And what? The day of Zeis Chanukah, which is the final day of Chanukah, is a good day, is an auspicious day for people who are having a challenge of having children. That Zeis Chanukah is a day for women to be able to, barren women to be able to have the bracha, the blessing of childbirth. The Rebbe said a few people to say l'chaim at the Farbrengen. So again, we're learning a Farbrengen. Maybe, possibly, it doesn't say that these people were people that didn't have children. So the Rebbe was giving them, so to say, a bracha for children. The Rebbe continued the Farbrengen. The idea is like this. What is the idea that Zos Chanukah is connected to having children? As you do, it's known that Chanukah, we have Me'irim Yud Gibum Mitzarachim. It shines the 13 attributes of mercy, like all great holidays. And that's why the bracha, the Hadik Ner Chanukah, has 13 words. Why? The 13 words correspond to the 13 attributes of mercy. And this is one of the reasons that the Rebbe in our Nusach says the Hadik Ner Chanukah and the Hadik Ner Shel Chanukah. There's some people have the meaning to say the Hadik Ner Shel Chanukah, to light the candles of Chanukah, Shel Chanukah, not to light the Chanukah candles. And the reason why the Alter Rebbe didn't put in the word shell, which would make it 14 words, because he wanted to keep it to 13 words to connect to the 13 attributes of mercy. So the words of the bracha should be 13, like the 13 attributes of mercy. And because we know Hanukkah is the power of the 13 attributes, and 13 attributes is beyond creation, beyond limitations. So it means if a woman needs to give birth, it didn't have the blessing yet of childbirth. So where do you begin for that blessing? Is the 13 attributes of mercy, surely. Which is beyond, so to say, the destiny of that woman. Even if in the chain of creation she wasn't meant to have children, like I says about Aharon, Hashem took him out of above the stars, because in Seder stars could be not blessed to have children. But if there's 13 attributes of mercy are shining, then it doesn't make a difference what the world, what so to say, the light of the world says in the system of the world. You're given the blessing to actually give birth to someone mamish like you. But Pratisya, the Rebbe explains a little more detail. It's not just in any day of Chanukah, but specifically connected to the 8th day of Chanukah. Why? Every day of Chanukah, they have one special of the 13 attributes of the Yud Gimel Mitzarachim. And we have within it all the 13, but each day has a special, unique midah. The 8th day is Meir Mazel Shmini, is the 8th mazel of the 13 attributes. We know the number 8 is higher than the number 7, which is the Shistalshus creation. Shumazel v'noitzer, which is Ayidei Havdisha, the noitzer v'naka, through cleansing. Shehem Kinega Tipasa Ava Tipasa M, which means to cleanse the seed of the father and the mother. Davida Nasi Ninalada allows for the noitzer to mean to form, v'naka to clean. To say the noitzer is the forming, so it allows for the forming of the seeds to mix properly and to create the child. Even though there's 7 midos, and what's the 8th midah? Because instead there's 13 attributes, but there's 7 attributes of the person. So he explains over there. So you could say that there's Chesed, Gvura, Tferes, Netzachod, Yisod, which is 6, Malchus is 7, but Malchus itself has 2 levels within it. Pisha Batzilus, the way it's connected above, Pisha Nimshach, and the way it comes down below. And also the Rebbe says, nice, Shivas Amidus Yeshna Koich Elyon, Yesh Tavich, Beis Abirim, Shayiri, Libya, Nas Mikoich, it's not Koich Elyon Dafkan. So basically, like we said before, that there's also one is that Malchus is the way it's connected above and the way it communicates below. So it receives from above to communicate below. So it has a split side to it. Or you could say also that where does it have the ability to give below is because it's also rooted in beyond the 7 midos itself. Okay. And the Rebbe says this is all about what we say in the so to say the 19th blessing. I call it the 19th because it's the added blessing of Elam al Shinim that we say Al Tihi Tikva. How does we give birth to something? Is that when there's the connection between the first 2 letters of God's name and the second 2 letters of God's name, we give birth, connecting above and below. Hashem Shalom. That's how the name is complete. Vakise Shalom, the chair is complete. But the forces of evil, the people who are malshin, they tell them they're not they're the adversaries. Right? They want to cover the second 2 letters of Hashem's name is the letters that deal with actual. Vav is to bring it down, hey, into our space. Don't bring in from the upper 2 letters of God's name the godliness into the functionality. You know, Vav is the midas of Netzachot Yisod. What are we saying? Tikva. Don't let them cover the second 2 letters of God's name. So you're soon be receptacle to the first 2 letters, which is the idea of separating the name. That's what we say Amalek does. He separates the name. The name of God isn't complete. That's what we daven. There's the malshinim, the adversaries. You're not allowed for there to be a disconnect between the 4 letters of Hashem's name. And then there's no ability to give birth in spirituality and also give birth physically. The Rebbe continues, Isa b'Sefer Maamar Text. It's brought down in the book of Maamar Text, which was authored by the Rabbi Tzaddik Reb Nachman of Chernobyl, the Chernobyl Rebbe. It says like this, that it says in the verse, and I set up a candle, a flame for my anointed one. What is this referring to? This is referring to through the candles of Hanukkah. What's the connection? So he says like this. Moving from this is understood. A person has to spend Hanukkah. The Rebbe is saying this at the end of Hanukkah. That means we still have some time now to use Hanukkah as an opportunity to spread the teachings of Chassidus. Because that's the light. That through the Chassidus, which is Mashiach is connected to Chassidus, that's how we're going to light up the Galus, the exile. That's why we light the Hanukkah candles when it becomes a little bit dark. Until we get rid of those people who rebel. And we're affected to bring Mashiach, which is done through the Ner Chanukah. That's why it says Arachti Ner. I set up my candles, the candles of Chanukah, to bring the Mashiach. Because through lighting up the darkness is going to bring Mashiach. And who does this? Matisyahu Kohen Gadol. Matisyahu was the father of the Maccabees. You know, when did the story happen? When Matisyahu, the son of Yochanan, the Kohen Gadol. The Rebbe says a side point that there's 2 ways to understand that statement of Matisyahu, the son of Yochanan, the Kohen Gadol. Who is the Kohen Gadol? Matisyahu or Yochanan? Is it Matisyahu, the son of Yochanan, who Matisyahu was the Kohen Gadol? Or is it Matisyahu, the son of Yochanan, the Kohen Gadol? The Rebbe says, L'hara mi beis hadeis, there's 2 opinions. In Kohen Gadol, who is the high priest? Kohen Matisyahu, is it Matisyahu? Or is it Yochanan? Matisyahu, the son of Yochanan, the Kohen Gadol. However, Kislev Arizal, seemingly from the writings of the Ari, it's clear, Shematisyahu, Kohen Gadol, the Matisyahu himself was the high priest, not just the son of the high priest. And that in general goes on the Nasi Ador, the leader of every generation. Shekol Kol Nasim means Matisyahu represents all the heads of the Jewish people throughout the generations. Kumay Bizmani, just like in the times of Matisyahu, at Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the Shehayu Yud-Beis Nasiim, that there was 12 princes. And Moshe Rabbeinu Nasi Ador, Moshe was the prince of his generation. And he had all, with Moshe had all the 12. All the 12 princes were included within Moshe. The leader of the generation has everything included within the leader of the generation. Who poil, and this is the leader of the generation, the Rebbe. The idea of the Rachdi Ner, that I set up the candle in Mashiach to bring my anointed one. The Hori Gamas, even Ner's Chanukah, to use the candles of Chanukah. To get rid of all those who rebel, spiritually, physically, materially. This is going to usher in the days of the Mashiach. And the Rebbe says like this, he finishes off the Farbrengen, happy we were able to do it within the time frame that we like to use, that when the Frierdiker Rebbe came out with a cry that we have to do, the Mashiach is about to come and we have to do tshuva. The Frierdiker Rebbe put it around 1944 with great expansion. He put up with great advertisement, great marketing for his times. And everyone knew. Everyone knew that the Frierdiker Rebbe was very into Mashiach, like our Rebbe was very into Mashiach. There were once two Jews traveling on the train. The Rebbe doesn't say how he knows the story, but the Rebbe is telling the story. When they came by the three trains stopping by Eastern Parkway, which is outside 770. So one of the people said to the next, this is where the Rebbe Lubavitch lives, by the 770, which is by the Kingston Avenue, Eastern Parkway station. Who are Lubavitch? He said, obviously, oh, the Lubavitchers, they're the ones who believe in Mashiach. This is already 1944. The Rebbe took pride in that. The Rebbe said, we've just been talking about that the main thing is about bringing the change actually, not just the talk concepts. You do a sipur, like it's known. The holy Maggid Mizrit to teach the Alter Rebbe was once telling the students about something about the revelation of Mashiach, of Eliyahu Navi, something about Gil Eliyahu. It doesn't say what the topic was, but what the details was. Just that they were talking about the revelation of Eliyahu, of Elijah the prophet, not specifically to announce the Mashiach. I want to see what you're saying. You show me a source. A litvak has to be bottom line. Show it to me. I need to see you need to make it happen. We can't just talk concepts. Same thing applies to the idea of bringing Mashiach down. Mashiach has to come down, actually. We can actually physically see it, not just talk about it in concept. I should tell you, Mashiach physically should come and change and redeem the world of this horrible galus. And the Rebbe says now this is a very powerful finish of the Farbrengen that seemingly has nothing to do. In the brackets it says, at some point in the Farbrengen, of this beautiful Farbrengen of Shabbos Pashas Miketz, Zos Chanukah, the year 1952, Tafshin Yud Gimel, the Rebbe said, the Rebbe said to one of the Chassidim at the Farbrengen, who seemingly, just understanding this, what the Rebbe was saying, maybe the person wasn't such a chassid yet of our Rebbe, who's a young Rebbe. The Rebbe only was a few years in his leadership. The Rebbe said to this chassid, you're talking about the same Rebbe, meaning the Rebbe and his father-in-law, seemingly, and just translating in my own loose translation, the same hanhagis, the same style. This is the Zalva Rebbe, he says in addition, the Zalva hanhagis. I may look differently in my clothing, but it's the same Rebbe. The with more light, bright clothing, more bright clothing or garments. Why do you care so much? The main thing is the same Rebbe. Maybe the person wasn't understanding the Rebbe style. The Rebbe says it's the same Rebbe, just different garments, but the garments are more bright, more me'irim. I'll leave that open for translation, everyone to understand it as they do. Shkoyach, thank you so much. I'm happy we were able to finish this lovely Farbrengen. Now we went a little fast today, but wanted to finish it in the half-hour time that we have. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and today's Hey Tevis. We have all the Achlatis and the Chaim. It's a big day. Eis Ratz and Roderick Pan for Shabbos.